Today, we're not just looking at a safety procedure, we're looking at a story. It's a tough one, but it's a critical lesson for every single one of us who works in and around hazardous environments. This isn't about pointing fingers. It's about understanding how a system we trust, a system designed to save lives, can completely fall apart when just one thing is missed.
It's the start of a shift, a routine job. The permit to work is filled out, signed off, looks like business as usual. Just 4 minutes pass. 4 minutes. Confident that everything's safe, the worker enters the area to get the job done. And then in less than 60 seconds, nothing. The job comes to a dead stop. This is what we have to wrap our heads around. The paperwork was there, the permit existed, but it didn't do its job. And we absolutely have to know why.
All right, let's dig into the specifics of this incident, because the failure here wasn't a piece of equipment breaking down. The failure was one of recognition.
So here's the scene. The job itself, super standard. A routine inspection on a big pipe flange. But to do it right, they needed to use a black light, so they had to create a dark space. The crew did what anyone would think to do. They draped some black tarps around the pipe to block out the sun. A simple, clever solution, right? But here's the hidden danger. That entire pipe system was inerted, meaning it was filled with nitrogen gas to prevent corrosion. And that, right there, is the heart of this tragedy. The second those tarps went up, the entire situation changed. It was no longer just an open-air job site. It instantly became a temporary, unventilated, permit-required, confined space. But nobody saw it that way. And because they didn't recognize it, none of the life-saving rules for confined spaces were ever put into play. Now, this is what's so terrifying about nitrogen. It's not a poison, it doesn't have a smell or a color. It's an asphyxiant. It just silently pushes the oxygen out of the air. You see, your body doesn't actually have an alarm for a lack of oxygen. Your urge to breathe comes from a buildup of carbon dioxide. In a nitrogen-rich environment, you'd feel no panic, no choking. You just go to sleep permanently, and you would never, ever see it coming.
So let's trace this out. Let's look at how that one single oversight, failing to see the change in the work area, caused a whole cascade of failures, bypassing every safety net that was supposed to be in place. Let's be perfectly clear on what we're talking about. According to OSHA, the definition of a confined space is simple. It's a 3-point checklist. Was the space big enough for a person to get into? Yup. Was it hard to get in or out of? Well, yeah, you had to get through the tarps. And was it designed for someone to hang out in all day? Absolutely not. It checked every single box.
And the fallout from not recognizing it is just devastating when you lay it out like this.
The first rule is that the employer must identify these spaces. That was missed. Because of that, the next rule, and notice the word OSHA uses, is shall, not should. The atmosphere shall be tested. That was missed. An attendant must be stationed outside. Missed. A rescue plan must be in place. Missed. One after another, every single life-saving barrier was just gone. So let's be really clear about this. The permit to work system itself, the paper, the process, it didn't fail. It was never even really used. It was applied to the wrong job. The hazard changed right in front of them, and because no one saw it, the first domino in the safety chain was never even touched. Okay, so that's what happened. Now, what should have happened? What does a robust permit to work process actually look like when it's done right? A real permit process forces you to stop and think. Step 1, you identify all the hazards. That includes asking, hey, are we creating a confined space with these tarps? Then you isolate the energy. In this case, the nitrogen supply line gets locked out. Then you test the air, not just once, but continuously. Only after all that is verified by a supervisor can anyone enter. It's a deliberate, step-by-step confirmation of safety. And a huge piece of this is lockout/tagouts. You all know this. LOTO isn't just about flipping a breaker. It's a physical system of locks and tags that guarantees that hazardous energy, whether it's electricity, pressure, or a gas like nitrogen, is completely cut off from the work area and cannot possibly be turned back on by accident. I want you to burn this number into your memory. 19.5%. That's the absolute minimum level of oxygen that OSHA says is safe to work in. Anything less, and you are in an oxygen-deficient atmosphere that is immediately dangerous to life. In the enclosure with the tarps, that nitrogen blanket would have dropped the oxygen level way below this critical number. So this brings us to the hardest question of all. Why? Why does this happen? The people on that job were not rookies. They were experienced professionals. But even the best people can fall into cognitive traps. You know, our brains can play tricks on us. There's something called normalization of deviance. That's when we take a shortcut and nothing bad happens. So we do it again and again, until that unsafe shortcut just becomes the normal way of doing things. Then there's the illusion of control, that feeling that I'd know if something was wrong, I'd smell it, I'd feel it. With nitrogen, that's a deadly mistake. And of course, there's always production pressure, that constant push to get it done now, get it done fast, which can make safety feel like it's in the way. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. When the culture on a job site starts to see safety as a delay, as something that gets in the way of real work, you are setting the stage for disaster. The permit stops being a safety tool and starts becoming just another piece of paper to sign. So I want to leave you with a different way to think about this whole process. A different way to look at that piece of paper. Let's say it again. A permit to work is not a form, it's not a checkbox, it's not an administrative task to get out of the way so you can start the real work. That permit is a promise. It's a promise from the company to you that the work area has been inspected and made safe. It's a promise from you to your crew that you'll follow the plan. And it's a promise to your family that you're going to do what it takes to come home safe at the end of the day. And that's the question I want you to take with you. Ask it at your next safety meeting. Ask it at your next toolbox talk. When you see someone signing that permit, are they treating it like a solemn promise, or are they just signing a piece of paper? The answer to that question could be the difference between life and death. Please, if you're in a position to influence safety, share this explainer. Talk about it. The lesson from this tragic event is too important to keep to ourselves. Remember, the first step is always recognition. See the hazard, respect the permit, and look out for each other. Stay safe out there.